Hello everyone, welcome back to the TJOmega channel for day 1004 of our daily content grind, and we find ourselves in the year 1997. It is once again time to look at the top 10 of a particular year, and we are right at the point where Beast Wars really starts to pick up. The basic class drops the whole auto-transforming spring flip gimmick things, and they just go to straight normal Transformers with better features. Meanwhile, the deluxes seem to get a lot more action features added to them, and then we start throwing in things like combiners. Because, of course, Transformers is going to figure out some way of doing combiners. Now, 1997 does present an interesting list of figures. We don't have any major characters from any of the shows this year, and we also have to consider Machine Wars, which, after considering, I don't think is going to make the list, because none of the new toys, the brand new molds for 1997, are doing anything all that interesting or come in decos that aren't all that good. So, excuse me if I think the Beast Wars were just doing things a little bit more interesting than the little KB Toys capsule line at the time. Though, I will admit, on a historic point, first year where we've got two toy lines running at the same time, I think that's worth mentioning. But we are going to stick to the Beast Wars cast here as we talk about the best 10 toys of 1997. And we are going to start with a personal favorite, which I'm not even sure why I like this toy as much as I do. I think it's just a cute little figure. We're going to talk about Razorclaw to start off with. Now, yes, you would think, TJ, it's translucent blue. What are you doing? Hear me out. Hear me out. Darker translucent colors tend to hold up better than light ones, from what I have seen. And to my knowledge, like the last times I have messed with a toy like this, yeah, it is still intact, and I'm not really that concerned about it. I will admit, the following year is going to present a repaint that is actually in better colors and no translucent plastic. I prefer that version, but for what it is, I still think this is a fun toy. I like the hidden weapons in the claws, both the small and the large, which also brings about the fact that I really like the asymmetry to the overall design. It's got a lot of shell on the back because it's a crab. Of course the crab's going to have shell, but I like the way it is handled with these giant, like, shoulder pauldron looking details that are spiked across the top. It gives them a really cool silhouette for a basic class figure. Granted, there's more interesting basics that came out. There are a few more on this list that we will get to. But for what it was, I mean, simple as the toy might be, I do think it has its own weird charm to it. There's just something, I don't know, there's just something to him that, like, makes me think, this is nice. He's a nice figure. You know, and I think for a top 10 list, the presenter usually gets to get away with number 10 being a personal favorite, so there you go. I'm putting Razorclaw on the list. So let's see what some of the other basics at the time were doing. So we're going to jump over to another one, and I guess I lied because I forgot this one was on the list. Yeah, let's talk about Air Razor. So, okay, I misspoke before. We have exactly one character who is actually in the American cartoon. The rest will have to be reserved for Beast Wars 2 and Neo. But Air Razor was interesting as it was a toy that wasn't designed to be female, but was released as female at the request of the creators of the show, who wanted a female presence on the cast. You know what? I am perfectly okay with that, and it's a really good toy to do that with. Beyond that, the colors work really, really well together. I really like this kind of metallic brown that it's got going on. Works well with the rich yellow color. I like the striping across the wings. You know, it has that look of a falcon and looks really, really nice. Yeah, and simple as it might be, it's a basic, of course it's simple. Bird mode looks pretty good too. The fact that you also have a wing flap gimmick, which is really nice in a toy this small, and you can weaponize that wing flap gimmick with the blades that flip out. Haha, Air Razor, I get it. And just an overall really nice silhouette in the robot mode. You get this really cool figure overall. Like, it's a really nice little desktop sized toy that does quite a bit for its size. Yeah, just overall, just really cool look, really cool function. Needs to be on the list. Sometimes a toy can be flawed and do things that typically do get on my nerves, but they get by on design, personality, and just overall just being fun, right? So fun is like the premium factor here. So when we talk about Cybershark, we are talking about a very fun toy, despite doing some things that I'm typically not a fan of. The front and the back both get removed in order to become giant weapons. Now, Beast Wars does this a lot, where part of the beast mode comes off to become a weapon. That's just kind of what it did. Cybershark kind of like takes like a third of his beast mode in order to do that. Maybe half of the beast mode if we really think about it. So that does get a little bit, that pushes it a little bit. You know, I would prefer it being more integrated. That said, you do come up with 2 fun weapons, so I will be okay with that, like the giant tail pincer especially. And then you just get this robot mode that just screams in personality with the big bitey teeth, the overall, like the mohawk, the overall look of him. You know, and missile storage. How rare is missile storage in any Transformer? Cool to see at this size class. On top of the fact, for a deluxe, it's just huge. And then that beast mode. The beast mode, by the way, is like shows where the colors and the paint on this toy is gorgeous. You got the brush on the bottom to give it that faded look. The dots on the top, you know, lots of paint. The silver on the teeth and the blades. You get into robot mode, you get that fleshy interior. It literally looks like peeled shark skin. And then yeah. You also have a chest missile that conveniently folds away. This is just doing a lot, you know? It looks nice. It has a lot of personality to it. Although, yeah, kind of simple because so much of it comes off to just become weapons. But that said, it does come up to a very, very nice looking figure overall. And just overall, Cybershark is a lot of fun. We've got one more basic class we have to talk about because this is one of those toys that really exemplifies the fact that they were doing basics differently. First year was all about spring-loaded auto transformation. Second year is about bringing out some personality and some small characters. So we can talk about Snarl now, and look at how nice this toy. Look how different it looks compared to the first year figures. Like, you've got the beast mode head as the feet. That is already kind of wild. Compared to how things were being done, especially since Beast Wars toys tended to really prefer to put the beast mode head as the chest. You know, year 2 really seemed to try to get away from that as much as it could. Beyond that, I really like the sculpting detail on this, where the fur continues even into the robot mode. The jaw acting as the chest with like the sculpted pecs and abs looks really, really good. Admittedly, the tail is kind of goofy in the way it has to mount on the arm, but I'm not going to knock it for that. I'm taking it for what it is. What it is a very unique looking figure that really had an interesting transformation for a Beast Wars basic class. Fun toy. If you've never really messed with it, there's been a few opportunities to get a hold of it. It's a nice figure. For what it does, and considering it is just a basic class, it's doing things in a really good way. And it's just a fun figure to just pick up and mess with. And if you have the Bound Rogue repaint that kind of looks like Sonic the Hedgehog, even better. But for now, Snarl's on the list because it's his year. So I said that this year, the Deluxe has got a lot more gimmicky features. Less removable weapons and more just, I have things that flip out and can shoot you. And I think a great example of that is Jetstorm. This one, again, does things differently, and I think it's really to the toy's advantage. For starters, you do have this, you have the wings taking design on, taking the form of chest design, giving it a little bit of like G1 kickback look with the blades sticking up high off of the torso. Works for me. Looks good. Other wings create a nice silhouette. Looks good. The green and orange color scheme is a little bit odd, but I like it for what it is. And then you have things like the bug legs not being terribly long, so they're not getting in the way like most Beast Wars bugs. The beast mode head has become the hands, which is very different. And even the robot mode head is incorporated into the beast mode head so that you can have the water squirt gimmick. Yes, this one had a water squirt gimmick to actually function in both modes without problem. And then you also had flip-out missiles that are really good, direct missiles in flight mode, and then in robot mode work as anti-aircraft missiles, or anti-air maximal missiles, as it were. Beyond that, really nice articulation, just overall, just really good look in both modes. This is again one of those toys I will tell you I prefer a repaint of. I think Takara's version of it, Tonbot, did a much better job in giving him some cool colors. But that said, Jetstorm, also still looking cool, still looks really unique amongst the Predacons, and you can tell the mission was to do things differently, and it helps the toy so much. I think by 97 that Hasbro decided the Maximals need a bruiser on their team because, even Rhinox is a little bit on the short side and doesn't really hit that mark. Thus, we need Bonecrusher. Bonecrusher as this big buffalo is this big tank of a beast mode for Beast Wars. It is a very large, beast compared to some of the others. A lot of bulk to it, a lot of really, a really cool look to it as well. And then you get to this robot mode where, he's wide-shouldered, tall-stanced, he just looks like a powerhouse, which is something that the Beast Wars aesthetic really, really needed. He does come up with a lot of kibble toward the back, but that's because he comes with a more interesting gimmick. He has a headbutt gimmick, which is fun. So you work the gimmick on the back, the head lunges forward. But it's not just that. The mouth will also fire a missile once it reaches full length. Okay, so if you don't just bash your opponent with their skull, you're going to shoot them. So, either or, whatever gets the job done. Beyond that, considering it's monochrome, it still managed to make a pretty cool looking figure. I like the horns in the robot mode head, I like the size of it. I like how the buffalo head is sunken into the chest, so it's not bulging out like these typically did. It's a really cool look. Makes for somewhat unique Maximal despite its, monochrome color scheme. But sometimes that works, Sometimes that's just the way to go. For Bonecrusher, in both modes, he is a tank of a character, and it's something I really think Beast Wars needed at the time. Really, really nice figure. I will admit personal bias might make this choice a little bit obvious and might make it a little bit higher than you would put it on your list, but then again, that's your list, not mine. I'm free to put these toys wherever I want. So when I tell you that Man-Terror is my favorite deluxe of 97, shouldn't be any surprise to those who know my obsession with Praying Mantis. It is a really cool look. Aside from green and purple are just really nice colors to see together. Maybe that's just Constructicons being burned into my consciousness, but I do think it looks really, really cool as a design. I really thought before I owned this toy that for some reason it's relying so much on ball joints and has such heavy parts like the forearms that I was really worried about how well this toy would hold up. But I did obtain a figure, even though loose, and it is very, very nice. It holds up very, very well. Really like the look to him, like using the bug legs as actual chest detail. That's unique, like how they handled that. And then the disc launching gimmick, kind of perfect for the shape of the Mantis arms. And again, disc launching, not a very common gimmick in 97. Kind of cool that the deluxe got to use it. Just an overall cool figure, and also even transforms a little bit more than I expected it to, so even that managed to catch me by surprise. Just an overall really, really nice figure, a really nice looking one. Just kind of a shame this one didn't get more rounds, because I'd have taken quite a few of these, thank you. Not just because of my love of the insect, but also it's just a really fun toy I would have wanted more of as a kid. Ah well. I will take what I can get now, and what I get is still really, really good. Time to step it up to some larger size classes, and we have to go up to the Mega class with a toy I've talked about before, No. If you know it, no. We ain't doing that. We need to talk about Baboon, though. Baboon, okay. Overall, just heavily armed figure. Like, I love just like this, the missile rack to the chest, the angry expression. He kind of looks like the drill sergeant who's on the battlefield. You just like loaded for war and just ready to obliterate anything, right? He just has this really cool and really intimidating look to him. Yeah, the Baboon mode also looks really good. You can see where the paint was put in to actually hit the right notes on that figure. Like, it's really mild airbrushing and like little, like almost a dry brush to kind of bring out the tips of the fur with the silver. It's a really cool look to him. And then, yeah, he's one of the very few figures in Beast Wars that you could call an actual triple changer. Though turning into another beast, no. He turns into this big weapon platform that's the perfect size for your basic class figures to operate. And not only does he have this decent looking artillery platform mode, which lets him bring out a ton of guns and even more missile launchers, he also has an additional robot mode head, so he can, like, I guess, observe while he is firing away. It's a neat little touch that gives him a little bit more personality, as if this character needed any more. He just kind of radiates that. It's a really cool figure. Really cool figure. And yeah, yes, blaster out of the monkey's mouth. We can also count that as a bonus as well. It's just fun. It's just a really, really cool figure. One you need to get your hands on if you can. It's the Japanese version is basically identical, so you know it's hard to go wrong on them. Yeah, really, really good toy. Really, really good toy. Once again, this is one of those lists where you could have put either number 2 or number 1 of my choices at the number 1 spot. Really does depend on your personal preference and what you want out of your action figures. So, if you know 97, there's only 2 options left that we can go to, so it's just a matter of which order did I put them in. So, today, for number 2, we're talking about Magnaboss first. So, the overall look of Magnaboss is exceptionally cool. It is a very powerful looking Maximal Warrior. It's got a lot of really cool details and touches, and the combined weapon looks really, really cool in his hand. Now, because we are looking at this as an overall package, because these were only sold together in the US, we need to look at the individual ones. And while Prowl ends up being an exceptionally cool toy all on his own, unfortunately the other teammates just kind of don't carry their weight. You know, so Silverbolt is very basic, as it were. I mean, is very simple in transformation and deco, not the most engaging of figures. Ironhide suffers a lot. The beast modes are fine. Beast modes on all of them are fine, but Ironhide suffers a lot to be the bulk of Magnaboss's overall robot. So he ends up looking kind of awkward and ends up being kind of limited by comparison to other Beast Wars toys. That said, as an overall package, it's a fun set of figures, and just, yeah, that combined mode. Even the articulation in the combined mode. Keep in mind, you know, we're coming off of like this is the first combiners we had since all the ones from Generation 1 where, you know, yeah, at best, you know, maybe your head could turn. You know, at best, you know, maybe, you know, the wrist could swivel or turn without falling off. This changed the game. This showed just how much detail and how much articulation you could put into a combiner. So it's a pretty marvelous job and well deserving of the number 2 spot. But there is one who does it just a little bit better, and once again, this really is like a preference of the day thing. Magnaboss on another day could have been number 1, but for now, we need to talk about Tripredacus. So, in comparison on the individual points, we have 2 members of Magnaboss who are kind of lacking as toys, with Prowl kind of carrying the load there, whereas with Tripredacus, Ramhorn is an okay figure. Not one I would buy on his own, but as a part of a multi-pack, okay. But the rest work really well. CicadaCon kind of feels like a cleaned up version of Waspinator at a smaller size. And then C-Clamp is just a nice figure just on his own. A lobster might not be terribly exciting as a figure, but I don't really care. It's just a nice toy. So you have a better spread and nicer figures overall compared to the individual figures on Magnaboss, and then you get to the combined mode. So the arms get a little bit rickety, you know, so because they aren't quite as solid. And this is why Ramhorn comes up short, because he has to form the arms of this. That said, you still have a pretty good range of articulation. You have a very characterful design. I love how Cicadacon's wings just fold out to create a perfect wing pack for the combined mode. And you have a beautiful mix. The thing that makes Magnaboss number 2 for me is the fact that some of those figures that are making up that combination, you can barely see. Prowl especially contributes nearly nothing to the combined form. You know, it's really just the head. But when you look at this guy, you can evenly see all of the members. It looks like a proper combiner. And then the color mix just really works as well. Multiple shades of brown, the purple that ties all 3 members together. It's a lovely job. It's a really, really cool set of figures, and it makes a really cool combined figure altogether, which makes Tripredacus my best toy of 1997. So, there is the list. You are free to dispute it in the comments below. I look forward to the discourse, as long as you don't get too loud about it. It's all just fun. It's all just opinion here. So, with that, thank you everyone for watching. I will see you next time.